Good afternoon to everyone. Hopefully all of you who have registered to the webinar, all 282 of you have managed to join. I see that some people are still dropping in, but the time is 13 in CET time zone and 2 in Finland, so I think we can start. So welcome to the first Nordic webinar on a 15-minute imbalance settlement period. This webinar is hosted by all the 4 Nordic TSOs, and we are representing or part of the Nordic balancing model program by the Nordic TSOs. My name is Janne-Heikka. I work at Fingrid in Finland, but today I represent all the Nordic TSOs. I work as a program manager for this Nordic 50-minute imbalance settlement period project under the NBM. So this is today's agenda. I will be starting with an introduction to the Nordic approach in the 50-minute transition. After me, Tuomas Pulkkinen from ESET, the Nordic imbalance settlement company. He will explain a little bit about the changes that come with a 50-minute imbalance settlement period from ESET perspective. And then finally, we will have a brief insight on some country-specific details, since the implementation of the complete 50-minute ASP is differing slightly between the countries. From Denmark, from Energinet, Carsten Feddersen will be the presenter. From Fingrid, Finland, Meri Viikari will explain the Finnish parts. From Statnet, Lars-Olav Fosse, and from Sweden and Svenska Kraftnät, Daniel Sommar will take care of the final Swedish part. Then, before jumping into the contents itself, some practicalities about the webinar. So first of all, this webinar will be recorded for your convenience afterwards. Questions can be written in the webinar tool. You have a questions box where you can write your questions. And then after each presentation, we can have a short break and go through these questions. And would it be so that we don't have time to go through all the questions? So we will then, after the webinar, gather all the questions that we have received and provide written answers along with the recorded webinar and of course the presentation material. And all this will be then afterwards published on the Nordic balancing model .net, so NBM homepage. But then if we jump to the contents itself, I'm starting on a very high level. Here we have the Nordic balancing model roadmap, which is illustrating all the milestones that are included in the Nordic balancing model program. And the program is basically solving or forming the needs of the future power system, the way we are balancing the system in the Nordics in future. I'm not going to go through all the milestones. I believe some of you are aware and have seen this picture before, but briefly to mention that the final goal of this roadmap is the connection to the European balancing platforms for the automatic FRR called Picasso, and the European manual FRR platform Mari. Then what we are focusing on today is the 50-minute imbalance settlement period. Then along with that comes 50-minute products on intraday market as well. Moving to finer time resolution is basically a requirement and prerequisite for these European platforms. And then going a bit deeper into details, having the 50-minute or the finer time resolution, we need to, before entering into that mode, we need to make sure that the balancing is working automated and it's working fine. So for that we have automated Nordic MFRR energy activation market. That is a very complex project and an important milestone to enable the transition to the finer time resolution when everything happens 4 times faster. But today we will focus on the middle part, 50-minute ISP. Some background to why we are introducing the finer time resolution. First of all, I believe that everyone is aware of the changing power system. We get all the time more and more weather dependent energy production, and in this new world we already today see that 1 hour is a very long time period, and during that 1 hour a lot of imbalances occur. So that is the one reason why we need a finer time resolution. Then on the other hand, we need to sort of provide the tools and the incentives for market participants to maintain the balance in more real time. And then of course when we sort of outsource, get the market do balancing in a way, in a better quality, so that's also more efficient in cost-wise. Moving to 50-minute world is making the possibilities for ancillary services a bit better. To mention one, when moving to 4 times shorter window, so of course then the even smaller units can participate and hence create better competition and so on. Then we have the other side of the story is harmonizing the electricity markets in Europe. So the long-term goal is to have the internal electricity markets completely harmonized and united in Europe. And then based off of these above mentioned reasons, so we of course have then the legislation that actually sets the requirements to implement this change. When we talk about 50-minute ISP or imbalance settlement period, we of course refer to the imbalance settlement itself, being in the core of this transition and this project. But to give an understanding on how we see as TSOs the holistic view on the scope of the whole project is threefold or fourfold to make the imbalance settlement work or make sense. The basis of actual imbalance settlement, of course, is the energy metering itself, to actually validate the energy flows. And this approach, or how we move to 50-minute metering, is a bit different country-wise. We'll come back to that in depth later. We also see that the balancing market need to move to finer time resolution, partly to actually secure the operations, to get the system security in place, but also to then have the correct imbalance price per each 50 minutes. And then finally, to make the holy trinity complete, the wholesale markets to move to 50 minutes as well, and this to give the possibility for the balance responsible parties to actually set the balance in right resolution. And in wholesale markets, there will be a stepwise approach. So when 50-minute ISP will go live, so the intraday market will be the one to move to 50-minute resolution first, and then the day-ahead market will follow afterwards, or will come later. In that time schedule, we follow the European NEMO's time schedule, and I believe that the indication of today is earliest during 24. Then very briefly about how the Nordic TSOs are, how we are organized in this implementation work. So we have the NBM program, and under that we have the, so to say, an umbrella project where we then monitor the local implementation of each TSO. So each TSO is responsible for the local implementation of 50-minute imbalance settlement period in that country. And in this Nordic project, we also are coordinating the common tasks and activities that we share in the Nordics. One, of course, the most obvious being the imbalance settlement itself in the ESET, and therefore we also have ESET in the project. And then the final purpose of this Nordic project is then to communicate about the coming changes to the stakeholders on a Nordic level, and also we're trying to emphasize at least some of the differences that will come between the TSOs and between the countries when it comes to this implementation. Then we will also remain in the basics here. So a little bit background on the time schedule here. So as you might know, so the European legislation sets the deadline to implement 15 minutes by the end of last year, so about half a year ago. In the Nordics, the derogations were requested, basically in postponing the deadline for this implementation in order to get all the necessary building blocks in place. One to mention the MFRR energy activation market. In Sweden, Denmark, and Finland, the TSOs requested for derogation until the 22nd of May 23, and the respective national regulators granted the derogations this March, so a couple of months ago, according to the requested date. What is worth mentioning is that since Norway is not obliged by this European legislation, this EBGL, So Norway is, of course, anyways, following the same time schedule. So the common Nordic go live of 50-minute imbalance settlement period, including the other parts that I briefly showed earlier, will be in 22nd of May 23 at midnight. There has been some question on, or motivational speeches on why this exact date was chosen. So here I will explain a little bit. So basically, when the first roadmap for the NBM was published in 2019, the TSOs proposed the end of 22 as the go live date. Then after the public consultations and based on stakeholder feedback, the go live date was postponed a bit until the second quarter in 23, where it is still now. Then it was figured that the go live shall be as late as possible during that quarter, however not too close to summer holidays. And then finally the fine-tuning came from basically from ESET and the practicalities. So the transition should be made in the beginning of a new imbalance settlement period, so that there would be only one resolution per imbalance settlement period, and that is then Monday at midnight and not next to any Nordic holiday, and hence we have the Monday 22nd of May at midnight Central European time. Then a little bit deeper into the details. Here we have the high-level roadmap for implementation of 50-minute ISP in the Nordics, and it is divided on a common Nordic part where we have the common activities that are the same in each country, and the two latter lines represent the country-specific approach. So this is more or less the same holistic view as the simplified version a couple of slides ago. But basically, what we can say here is that when we introduce the 50-minute imbalance settlement period, so there will be possibility to trade in intraday markets in 50-minute resolution. The MFR or the balancing markets in the Nordics will actually go live with this automated operation, enabling the 50-minute bidding already 6 months before. I'll come to details about that in the next slide. And then currently ESET is implementing the single balance model, and right after that the preparations and the implementation of then the 50-minute resolution will start. And the preliminary plans are indicating that there will be external testing during the beginning of 23 in ESET systems, but also more detailed information on this will be provided then by ESET later on. Implementation of local data hubs is very different, since some of the countries already have the data hub in place. Some of the countries will not have data hub before go live of 50-minute ISP. So this is slightly different, but data hubs are in a central and very important role when it comes to gathering and delivering the 50-minute energy values to imbalance settlement. And then we have both the DSO and TSO energy metering in the last slide. And these two swim lines, we will jump into a little bit deeper into details in the country-specific details in the end of the presentation. Then we have received some questions earlier on how the bidding will change, and since in 1 hour world it doesn't really matter if we talk about the power megawatts or the energy megawatt hours. So of course the bidding will be specified by NEMOs, being their responsibility. But as we understand in the current world and how things will or are working already today in Central Europe, where intraday markets at some extent are already in 15-minute resolution. So bidding format will be basically the same, no matter if bidding 1 hour or 50 minutes. So it'll be megawatts and with the price for the energy. And then in the imbalance settlement, we use energy as the unit, so megawatt hours. And here you can see an example on the bidding and the imbalance settlement. So basically, there will be a conversion from the power to energy, from megawatts to megawatt hours. That will then be done by the NEMOs. Then later on, when talking about the balancing market, where we have the stepwise approach, so to say. So in the first column, described how the bidding or bid size, bid resolution, and the marginal pricing is working today. And then after the automated operation will go live about half a year before 50-minute ISP. So here the thought is to enable already 50-minute bids, and then when 50-minute transition has been completed, so to say, so then the bidding and the market itself will purely move to 50 minutes as well, and also towards the European standard products. So there will be not much changes when connecting to Mari when it comes to these aspects. Before I end my presentation, so I would like to just briefly mention that on next week there will also be a Nordic webinar on MFRR market, where you can get a lot more details related to bidding and things related to that. So put that into your calendars and keep that in mind. That was the end of my presentation. Have we received some questions at this point? Lars Olav, did you find some questions?
Yes, I can briefly go through the questions if that's okay. So I have answered some of them. The first one was regarding the roadmap. Talking about the roadmap, last week it was announced that the project regarding Nordic MFR EM was delayed due to missing TSO data deliveries and quality. Will this cause a delay to the expected go-live date of introducing 15 minutes ISP? And if yes, how big is the delay? And what was communicated at the NBM reference group meeting was that it is correct that one of the internal milestones, milestone C, is delayed by 4 months, but the later milestones are not one-to-one dependent on this milestone, so work can take place in parallel. So the current delayed MFR project does not affect the go-live date. But of course, it's a huge IT implementation project, and risk is monitored continuously, and also, of course, cross-project risk. So if there is not only a risk of a delay in the MFR EM project, but an actual delay, the consequences for 15 minutes ISP will, of course, be assessed. And indeed is something that we are looking into now as well, just to be prepared. Then we have a question regarding the nominated transmission capacity to the day-ahead auction. The first is whether that would be 60 minutes when we move to 50 minutes ISP. And that is correct. It's quite complex. The day-ahead auction with all the different types of products is challenging, and in particular if you have cross matching between 60 minutes and 50 minutes ISP, 50 minutes market time unit. So when we move to 50 minutes ISP on the 22nd of May, the day-ahead market in Nordics will still be 60 minutes, but you need the possibility to trade your imbalances. So at least the intraday continuous trading will be on 15 minutes. But the plan now, we are starting up a project within the Nordic TSOs on 15 minutes in the energy markets, and the plan now is to move to 15 minutes day-ahead markets as well in 2024, and that the period where we have 60 minutes in the day-ahead and 15 minutes in intraday should be relatively short. So I think that was the questions. We have one additional questions. Yeah, there are some additional questions. I
think we have time for one more.
Yeah, should all companies that now change to 15 minutes resolution also have in mind to support 5-minute resolutions in the future? I think that's a very good question. Something that we have not discussed, and that is not the scope of this project, at least. I don't know if you have anything more to add there, Janne.
No, there's no information about 5-minute resolution in any forum, so that's nothing that will be required. Of course, it's something that a decision that will be made by the DSO itself, but currently no plans seen for that resolution. Okay, good. I will then give the floor to Tuomas.
Thank you, Janne, and hello everyone. My name is Tuomas Pulkkinen and I work in ESET with the 15-minute ISP project, and I will talk about the changes that will take place in ESET due to the 15-minute ISP, and also a bit about the changes due to the single ballast model. And the presentation focuses on the messaging side. And let's start with an overview of the imbalance settlement after the 15-minute ISP. So at ESET, we of course hope that the change will take place at the same time in all the NBS countries as planned. And after the 15-minute ISP, the settlement data is reported to ESET with 50-minute resolution. And the imbalances are then calculated also with 50-minute resolution and according to the single balance model, which is presented in the figure. And also the settlement results and data will be reported with 50-minute resolutions from ESET to market parties, and from online service it's possible to view the data and results in both 50-minute and hourly resolution. What comes to the settlement structures, there will be no change to their current resolution. So basically none of the structures can change in the middle of an hour. And finally, with the bilateral trade reporting, the window for the reporting will be closed separately for each 50-minute ISP. So for example, in Finland, the reporting window closes 20 minutes before each quarter hour. Then if we move on to the changes in the messaging side, what comes to the data flow formats, there will be no changes in the current formats. So the same formats that are at the moment in use will be used also in the future. But one thing to notice is that there are a couple of minor changes in the formats due to the single balance model, but I will come back to those a bit later. Then what will actually change due to the 15-minute ISP is in the time series part of the messages. So there is this attribute resolution, which is currently 1 hour, meaning that there are 24 positions per day, and each position has an hourly energy quantity. And after a 15-minute ISP, there will be this resolution of 15 minutes, meaning that there are 96 positions, and each of them has a 15-minute energy quantity. And this principle is applied for all incoming and outgoing settlement data. From ESET and to ESET. Then the documentation has also been updated to support the 15-minute resolution. Then I have one example here. So this is an XML file and the time series part of the file. So what will change is the resolution from 1 hour to 15 minutes, and the number of positions will be 96 instead of 24 per day, and the quantity will be about 1/4 or exactly 1/4 of the hourly quantity, depending whether it's divided by 4 or actually metered in 15 minutes. Then if we move on to a bit another topic, as many of you know, ESET is currently handling imbalance settlement with this two imbalance model with a own calculation for both consumption and production imbalances. And there are also different pricing models used for each. And close to the end of the year, we are moving towards single balance model, which is basically a combination of these two, but without the production plans. And this is using also the single price model, meaning that both imbalance sales and imbalance purchases will have the same price. And this will be applied from 1st of November this year. Then what will actually change in the messaging due to the single balance model? First of all, the business requirement specifications have already been updated for the single balance model changes, and they are listed here. And there will be 3 new attributes, 1 to describe the imbalance and 2 for the new imbalance prices. So as you can see from the table, there is 1 new business type attribute for settlement deviation and 2 new business type attributes for imbalance purchase and sales prices. And as a last thing, I will tell briefly about the development of the messaging from ESET's perspective. So basically, ESET has received a request from TSOs to harmonize the communication channels. At the moment, we are having 4 different channels in use, and the aim is to move towards a single channel, which would be then the ECP channel. What comes to the schedule and details, they are still open, and our estimate is that this harmonization will take several years. At the moment, it looks like the first country to move towards ECP is Denmark, where it's already in use for several parties, most notably for both Energinet and Energinet Data Hub. We also have the ECP channel either in use or we have plans to take it into use with most of the Nordic TSOs. And as a last thing, we sometimes get these questions regarding the APIs, and I can say that at the moment, ESET does not have plans to take into use any APIs. But that was it. And do we have any questions?
Thank you, Tuomas. I don't see that there was that much ESET-related questions. Maybe one, at least I can see, is the question that why is there still a requirement for production plans since they are not used? Is the same requirement also for consumption plans, and why? Well, I can try to answer that. The production plans will not be used in imbalance settlement as such, but production plans will be used in TSO work as a tool for estimating the power flows and hence in balancing as an extra tool. I don't have any knowledge about the consumption plans, rather that, or more than that, there are these models to estimate the consumption that are quite well. Any other questions to ESET? If not, yes, there's one more, I think.
I think there are actually two more, Jana.
Okay.
One regarding APIs and then one regarding settlement data from DSOs.
Yeah, so APIs, will there be a common setup here or there?
Yeah, well, as I said, ESET currently does not have any plans to utilize any APIs.
Yeah, and then the second question was, all reporting of settlement data from TSO to ESET will be in the resolution of 15 minutes as of, I think there is a typo, 22nd of May 23. No more hourly values.
Yes, that is correct, and that is the current plan.
So ESET is moving purely to 15-minute world when 15-minute ISP goes live.
Yes.
Okay, good. Then we can jump on and move towards the country-specific details. We start with Denmark.
Yes, hello all of you. My name is Carsten. I'm working for Energinet, and I'm especially involved in getting the 15-minute data into the data hub and utilize them in the market. For Denmark, all the legislation as such is already in place, meaning that the Danish Energy Agency and the ministry don't need to do any changes. But Energinet will have to update its market regulation. Here we're talking about the market regulation D1. And we have not decided so far exactly what we require to be in 15 minutes, but we have an idea that it will be on the production, on the exchange meterings, and on the large customers. And here we're talking about those who use more than 100,000 kilowatt hours per year. And in case there's other 15-minute data that is available in the market already metered today, for example, then we will allow it to be used and distributed in the market, which means that we collect it into the data hub and distribute it to the retailers, and we'll do the imbalance settlement based on that data as well. The market regulation will be published this fall for public consultation. So anyone who has any input to that is welcome to send it to us at that time. And since we also do settlement of the market as such with the tariffs and taxes and so on in the data hub, we will also enable the grid tariffs to support 15-minute resolution. It doesn't have to be used, but it will be supported. Next slide, please. Yeah. Currently, we're working on getting the data hub up in a new version. It's intended to go live in 2022. The reason for that is mainly to be able to handle all the metadata that comes in when we go to 15-minute readings. At that time, it will also be able to actually support every single meter to be metered in 15-minute data. In case there's something that is not metered in 15-minute data, we will profile it at the aggregation level. This means that there's no DSO who needs to change anything except for those meters where we demand 15-minute data. Then when we aggregate and before we send it to ESET, we will do a profile on an hourly basis based on the 15-minute data that is available, and then we'll profile the remaining hourly data to have the same profile as the actual 15-minute readings provide to us. This way, the more 15-minute data we have, the more accurate the profiling will be. So eventually we will simply phase out the hourly readings. We will most likely have some few old meters that are not ready for 15-minute data, and this way we can handle the situation. All our stakeholder communication, we have a lot of forums where we'll communicate to you whatever we have, whenever we have something. Mainly the retail market forum. There's one in September again, so please sign up if you want to participate here. Balance Responsible Market Forum, they will be informed as well about everything that goes on, especially the single price model and when we come to the 15-minute imbalance settlement. The Data Hub, they have their Wednesday morning meetings, and they have regional meetings where this will be a special topic when it's more present. Then we'll have the public consultations for our regulation. We have to do that anyways, so of course we'll do that as well. And in case there's anything that we haven't covered anywhere, or if you have any questions or you want to participate in the public consultations or know where to get more information, you can always address us at detailmarkedsudvikling@energinet.dk. So this is about everything we know so far.
Thank you, Carsten. I can't see any questions to you.
No, not yet.
Yeah, so let's move to Finland.
Okay, I think now you can see and hear me. Good afternoon. My name is Meri Viikari and I'm the project manager of the FinGrid's 15-minute ISP national implementation project. In Finland, we have country-specific topics also. The national legislation amendments concerning 15-minute imbalance settlement and the required changes in the energy metering are currently under public consultation. And this ordinance has been prepared by the Ministry of Economic Affairs and the Employment of Finland. And there are basically three main 15-minute ISP related changes in the proposed ordinance. The first is the imbalance settlement itself, the period which will be changed from the 16-minute to 15-minute resolution from the 22nd of May 2023. The second, there is described the stepwise transition to 15-minute energy metering. So basically, when and what type of meters are to be changed to 15-minute. And third, there is a requirement for the TSOs and MGAs to do an implementation plan for transition to 15-minute metering. So these are the three main topics in the legislation amendments. On the right-hand side, there are listed the meters that are to be changed to 15-minute resolution by the go-live date of 15-minute ISP. So basically, it's been proposed in the legislation that all exchange meters, the biggest production and consumption, and all the meters that can be remotely programmed needs to be changed to 15-minute resolution. So it's been estimated that these changes would cover approximately over 80% of the DSO's consumption points by this go-live date of 15 minutes ISP. So the majority of the meters would be in 15-minute resolution by then. Then you can move to this next slide, please. And then about Data Hub, in Finland, the go-live date of Data Hub will be the 22nd of February next year. And this first version of the Data Hub will support only 60-minute data. However, the Data Hub will open for 15-minute reporting in the beginning of 2023, when both 15-minute and 60-minute data can be reported to Data Hub. And during this transition period before the 15-minute ISP, Data Hub will sum up the 15-minute values to hourly values for the imbalance settlement, which will be still in 60-minute resolution during the spring. And then after the go-live of 15-minute ISP, Data Hub will continue supporting both 15-minute and 60-minute data, and will split those metering values that may remain in 60-minute resolution to equally by 4 to 15-minute values for this 15-minute imbalance settlement. So it will be a simple split by 4, and these 16-minute values will not be profiled. What is probably special in Finnish Data Hub, maybe compared to other Nordic countries, is that only the DSOs under 110 kilovolts will be served by the Data Hub, and higher voltage DSOs and other MGAs will continue reporting directly to ESET as is done today. And this division between different grid types is based on national legislation. And then the last slide about the stakeholder communication. We will arrange 15-minute ISP related webinars regularly, at least 4 times a year, and we will have both topical webinars and also webinars on some specific themes. And for example, during this spring, we already had 3 webinars, and the materials of the webinars and also other information on 15-minute local implementation is in Finland can be found on our internet homepage, and you can see the homepage address there on the slide. We also have a national reference group, which is common for the national NBN project that has a meeting, if I remember correctly, 4 times a year. And these meeting materials are also published on our web pages. And naturally, you can always contact me or my colleagues if you have any questions. I think Janne has the email address on the last slide, so you can have contact information there and also on the web pages. And the last thing is that we are plans to publish a local implementation guide for the 15-minute ISP in the beginning of the next year. I think these were the most important country-specific information on our side, and if no questions, I thank on my behalf and let Lars Sulov to continue on Norway.
Yes, thank you, Meri.
Thanks.
No comments or questions to Finland at this point yet, so let's continue to Norway.
Yes, thank you, Janne. My name is Lars Fosse, and I work at Statnett. Much of the implementation of 15 minutes ISP is handled by a company owned by Statnett, Elhub. For the reporting of metering values, there is it's quite a small number of meters that will actually be required to meter in 15 minutes. The majority will continue to meter in hourly resolution, but be profiled by the Elhub. So it's all production and exchange metering points between so-called meter grid areas, and of course also between TSOs, which will be reported in 15 minutes. And large consumption, a threshold there that will be set by regulation. While normal consumption and so-called combined metering points, so that is, for instance, prosumers, they will be metered on an hourly resolution. In addition, there is also some subgrids, for instance, I think shopping malls with an hourly resolution. That's also a very small number of metering points, which will continue to be metered in 15 minutes resolution. When Elhub sends over the data to ESET, it first takes the quarterly values that they get from these around 5,000 metering points or metering units. And then there is a specific transformation of the majority of the metering points, the hourly consumption metering points, which most of us have in our households, but also small businesses, which is called 60/15 transformation, where you basically take the full load and then deduct the quarterly metered values, and then you get a profile, which you profile those hourly metering points. You also have some production on hourly resolution and these subgrids, which is also, they are divided by 4, since consumption normally doesn't, since production normally doesn't vary across the hour. And we have a few metering points which are profiled, which are not metered hourly, and those are then profiled on a quarterly basis once we have or once LHub has profiled the meters that are hourly metered. Quarterly values are sent to ESET, the balancing suppliers, and BRPs and grid owners on a quarterly resolution. So the big transformation to quarterly resolution is in LHub. Currently, the proposed amendment of the metering and settlement regulation is has been sent from the National Regulatory Authority to the Ministry of Energy for approval. It was out on public consultation last year. It's the National Regulatory Authority which proposed the changed regulation, but according to the legislation, energy legislation in Norway, it's the ministry that actually approves it. There was also a question regarding production plans, whether production plans need to be sent into Statnett. And it's correct that there is no economic incentive through the imbalance settlement when we move to single price. But good production plans are key for the quality of the prognoses that the Statnett makes and feeds into the balancing system. So we are definitely dependent on that to reduce the cost of balancing the energy system. Then you can move on to the next slide. Then some information. Again, much of the stakeholder communication is done via LHub. LHub have working groups with the market parties, different type of market parties like balance suppliers, grid owners, etc. And when they have proposed the changes in LHub regarding 50 minutes settlement, they have received feedback through these working groups. On the 9th of June, LHub will publish a document on the changes for 15 minutes and send it to all the relevant parties. And there is also a separate part of the LHub 15 minutes project, which specifically handle market communication. And LHub also has a dialogue with the DSOs to make sure that they are ready. And one element there is that it's possible to send 15 minutes metering values to LHub already from the 23rd of November. So that means that there is a half-a-year transition phase from November the 23rd until go live of 15 minutes ISP. Statnett also does some communication in addition to the ordinary or regular communication in the NBM project, like our reference group, which is maybe more focused on on the changes facing the producers, for instance, the MFR injectivation market and the AFR capacity market. We have or the balancing imbalance settlement have a customer committee, and 15-minute ISP is part of that. And in addition, we are going to develop a comprehensive web page where all the relevant information regarding 15-minute ISP and probably also the switch to 15 minutes market time unit is gathered. So there it will be more like a one-stop shop. And we hope to launch that sometime next autumn, if time allows. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. I believe there was one question that popped up during your presentation regarding metering. So why doesn't the new national fleet of automated customer meters offer 15 minutes meter values?
I think more or less all of them can be reprogrammed to send 15 minutes data, and I think it will probably be a gradual evolution towards more and more 15 minutes data, and AdLab is definitely rigged for that. The reason why this is not done from the onset of 15 minutes ISP is that with the profiling, you reap most of the benefits for moving to 15 minutes ISP. So that is the reason. So you reduce the cost and also the risk of going from 60 minutes to 15 minutes ISP. But what the development will be moving forward, you have to ask the national regulatory authority, I think.
Okay, thank you. Then there was a short question. When will the slides be available and where and how? So these slides will be published on the Nordic balancing model.net as soon as possible. I believe I dare to promise this week. So briefly after this webinar. There were no more questions to Lars, so we can move to Sweden. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Daniel Sommar, and I work for Svenska Kraftnät. Yes, regarding the energy metering and reporting, Svenska Kraftnät is currently working on a proposal for the metering ordinance. It will hopefully and likely be submitted before midsummer to the Ministry of Infrastructure, who will then initiate the referral process, and they are also the ones who will take the final decision, and hopefully that will be done before the end of 2021. In short, the proposal currently contains a requirement for 15-minute metering and reporting for all production, all consumption above 63 amperes main fuse, and all MGA exchange meters. Additionally, all consumption below 63 amperes main fuse that are not in the consumption profile and fulfill the new functional requirements shall also meet the 15-minute resolution.
Sorry, Daniel, sorry to interrupt, but could you turn your webcam off, and Jan too, because I get the information that the connection is quite slow, so the audio is not working.
Okay.
As well. Thank you. Please continue.
I don't know where it cut out, but well, I'll take the proposal again. Basically, currently the proposal contains a requirement for 15-minute metering for all production, all consumption above 63 amperes main fuse, and all MGA exchange meters. All consumption below 63 amperes main fuse that are not in the consumption profile and fulfill the new functional requirements shall also meter with 50-minute resolution. And that means also that metering points that are included in the consumption profile are not affected by the proposal, and that I think is around 92% of all the consumption metering points. Even if some hourly measured consumption points will still be measured with the hourly resolution, they shall be reported with 50-minute resolution by the DSO according to the proposal. And the consumption profile will also be reported with 50-minute resolution. And the plan is for this new ordinance to take effect from the 1st of April 2023. I can also add here that we finalize the first draft of the impact assessments that we are doing regarding this proposal. So now we will have some time internally and see and analyze the impacts and the proposal a bit more before it will be prepared to send in to the ministry. Next slide, please. We don't have a data hub in Sweden, so there's no slide for that. But we will have some national webinar at least, and the plan is for that to be in September. No firm date is set yet, but I think we are quite likely to have it in mid-September. We also have a local reference group, which is filled with participants from grid owners and BRPs and retailers and energy association. We have a meeting every month or every second month, depending on the need. Right now, I think it's been more or less every month, but we'll have a break over summer and then we will see how the schedule is. We also have a homepage, which you can find by pressing the link there. The actual URL is quite long, so I recommend using that link or clicking through the Svenska Kraftnäs homepage to get there. Yeah, or you can just search Svenska Kraftnäs webpage for 50 minutes. You should be able to find it. Yeah, that was that, I think.
Good, thank you. So far, no questions to. Oh, no, it popped up. Since there is no data insight in Sweden, how will the measurement data exchange be implemented? Is utilities and ProData expected to be extended with support for 15-minute resolution, or will there be some other solution?
No new solution is planned. We will be using the current formats for the market. So they will be updated, is my understanding.
Okay. Yeah, just concluding this presentation by since we have about 2 years time to implement, so there will be during that time national communication by TSOs as presented in the previous slides, with focus on specific details and so on the local implementation. We will continue to communication on the ADM level, on a grid level, and focus on the Nordic webinars will be mainly on the common activities. Also, we have understood that many of the stakeholders are also interested in hearing some differences between countries. So we will try to include that to some extent as well. There On the Nordic level, we have the energy stakeholder reference group, as the more or less.
Sorry,
Yes,
Janne. Janne,
yes.
your audio is very, very poor at the moment.
I wonder if there's anything to fix it.
If you have any other, you could close all the other windows that you have opened. If you have, you could try again now. It's quite bad. Sorry. Still quite bad. It comes from. It sounds like it comes from far away.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, but it's quite poor. So sorry.
Okay. Then maybe is there someone else who could try to walk through this slide or?
Yes, I can probably wind down. If you hear me better than you heard Janne, sorry about this inconvenience. Yeah, the project now is working on or the Nordic project is working on a detailed activity plan. There will be more communication on a national level by each TSO, as we have seen done in somewhat different ways, either through reference groups or via the data hubs. We will use the NBM web to communicate. We will, for instance, publish the slides from this webinar. We will also publish an implementation guide, kind of a Nordic implementation guide, because we know that quite many of the stakeholders are active not only in one country but in several countries, and having a comprehensive guide with information not only about how things are done in your kind of home country, but also in the other Nordic countries is of great value. And we will of course come back to that once this is more ready. Well, in Q1 2022 actually. And we are planning a public consultation in Q4 2021. But there would be more information on this. We will also continuously update stakeholders in the MBM stakeholder reference groups. And we are planning a next webinar in Q4 2021, so in half a year's time. And of course, if there are any questions before we close this meeting, please feel free to publish them. You're also, of course, much welcome to send emails to the different project managers of the 4 countries, which have also presented themselves in this webinar. And we would also like to thank everyone that has listened in. It was a very big audience, which I think reflect the big interest for this quite big change in the Nordic power market. So I see that there are no new questions in the chat. So then I think I will just close this meeting and say thank you for your time.